We're going to rely on AI for a lot, which is scary, because if AI is made in the image of us and we're jacked up humans, and AI has the bias and influence of the creator of that AI, like then we're literally letting them like steer and direct our lives and our decisions, because these companies, they have bias, or the programmers have bias. And so it's like, it's scary.
That is scary, man.
There's a lot to think about.
Hey everyone, from Rolling Hills Covenant Church, this is Ask Anyway, the podcast where we get to explore the questions you've always wanted to ask, but maybe have been too afraid to. This is a safe space to wrestle, wonder, and be real with the questions that matter most to you. So if you have a question, don't be afraid, go ahead and ask anyway. If you are a keen viewer, you may notice that we changed our name from No Dumb Questions, and you may even notice it on the slide in the background sometimes. Don't worry, we still have the same focus and want to make the same valuable content for you and answer all your questions, now just with a new name. We hope you enjoy. My name is Nick, and I'm the host for our discussion today, and I'm joined by Alex, our worship pastor, and Connor, our high school pastor. Today, we're going to be talking about artificial intelligence, how Christians should engage with it, if we should engage with it, some of the moral implications that it has. So let's start us off. I'm going to start by kind of going over some of what AI is, so that people watching and listening at home can kind of get an idea of what it is and what we're talking about specifically, and some kind of interesting facts to kind of frame it so people can get an understanding of that. So, all right. So AI is a field of computer science that uses machines that can basically think or learn or act similarly to humans. So there's a level of intelligence there that's more than, your Roomba that's got a little predetermined path to vacuum your house or something. So, and I say that because a lot of new products nowadays use AI in the branding of the product to say everything's AI powered. Like I saw a toothbrush ad the other day. It was AI powered toothbrushing. I'm like,
your toothbrush needs to be artificially intelligent.
And how is it being? So we're kind of stepping away from that. We're not talking about just the buzzword of AI, but specifically when it comes to systems that are designed to analyze data and identify patterns, make decisions. We're not necessarily like the human, someone's programming them, but it's not like a specific set of functions. The program's also figuring out what it can do differently to do a better job. That's kind of like what machine learning is.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Without explicit programming to do that. So some types of AI that you guys probably have already heard about, like large language models like ChatGPT, is a pretty big one right now. That's like a text-based AI software and text to speech, that sort of thing, writing. AI is used a lot for coding as well. And as you've probably seen, image generation too. And now videos kind of more recently that they've actually been pretty good looking videos and not crazy stuff. Yeah. So just want to go over the kind of the market of AI, the global market. As of 2024 was valued around 279 billion, which is a lot of B's. And by 2030, it'll be expected to reach somewhere near $2 trillion. So it's a big market and it's just growing, continuing to grow. A lot of Americans use ChatGPT, like 20%, something like that. Most businesses are prioritizing AI in their business strategies moving forward. And it's not going away. As I've heard from Alex and we've talked about it before, it will keep improving. And right now it's the worst it'll ever be. So that's kind of a weird way to think about it, but it's only going to get better.
As in it's the dumbest it will ever be.
Yeah, its current state right now is the worst it'll ever be. It'll only get better from
Not morally, just like in
well, maybe
worst. Well, it can't be the worst. Like it could still go downhill.
Yeah, that's true. It could get worse morally. But in terms of quality of its responses and generation, so
that's good.
Just a big flyover.
Yes, man. So maybe for this conversation, like there's so many ways we can go, but maybe one of the more applicable ways for people at home, they're like, well, yeah, I've used ChatGPT for this or that. Maybe the first question we can answer is, should we let artificial intelligence do our work for us? Because I think that's where it happens a lot. It happens a lot with my students that I asked them the other night, and some of them say like, I use it to help me learn how to do math or how to write a paper, or I use it to brainstorm and come up with ideas for what I should write about. And then there's other students like, yeah, it just wrote my paper for me. And when I ask why, they're like, well, because it wrote a better paper than I would have. And so why can't I use this tool that's at my disposal, which is scary. And so in that place, and then even like the workplace, like how should we use it to do our work for us, like work we're being paid for? Should we kind of outsource to artificial intelligence? And like, what does the Bible say about this idea? So maybe first I wrote down like a couple examples that I know of in the world of where this has been used, and just to give us a sense of pros, cons, positive, negatives. So first, my brother is a lawyer, and he knew of a lawyer that this happened to him. A lawyer was using ChatGPT as a tool in gathering research for a case that he was working on. AI can be a great tool for combing data and finding pertinent info related to your work. This lawyer was gathering cases related to a precedent he was working with and used AI to identify cases that used the same precedent. He used the information he found in his brief, and when the judge looked over the research that he found, he didn't recognize some of the cases, and upon further investigation, he found that the cases didn't exist, that ChatGPT had interspersed made-up cases with historical ones, and the lawyer was immediately disbarred and lost his job, and now he isn't able to practice law anymore.
Wow. That's wild.
So yeah, just so often the information we're getting from it we think is good, it looks real, it looks right, and maybe it's not.
Yeah. So maybe a word to the wise to not trust everything that you read from ChatGPT.
Yeah, that's good. And then maybe another example here in this a different lens. A friend of mine is an engineer at a large engineering firm. While he works on the mechanical side of things, his friend is a coder. And a certain line of code had been giving him problems for over a week. About 40 hours of work later, he'd finally asked ChatGPT to correct the line of code. And within seconds, the program ran perfectly. Thankful for the resource at first, he's now starting to wonder about his job security. Could this new technology replace him entirely? This idea that like there's this whole field of coders that make their living off writing code, and it just seems that this artificial intelligence, even in its baby phase, is just better than humans at it. So is it a good tool, or is that like kind of a scary thing?
Yeah, that's scary.
And then a third, and this, I don't know, is striking for the church or people that attend church maybe. A pastor discovered AI and found it is a helpful tool for coming up with engaging and applicable jokes to use sparingly and appropriately in his sermons. After this was successful, he started using it to brainstorm creative illustrations to help him explain parts of his message. Next, he started using it to organize his thoughts and structure his sermons. And then when he started doing that, he realized that ChatGPT added some good points to his sermon, things that he totally would have missed in the text, but seemed to fit well. Now he uses it quite a bit, and a material that has just come from AI saying, this is a lot better than what I would have come up with, so why shouldn't I use it? How are we to think of that? This moment when we are seeking to be led by the Spirit, interpreting the Word of God, is AI Spirit-led? Like, you know what I mean? Like, is it...
That's tricky.
There's a whole church service in like Amsterdam or somewhere in Netherlands where they use AI for every aspect of the church service, no humans involved.
Whoa.
And it planned out the songs and the sermon and everything. And then they just had a person read AI's church service to the people.
No way.
It's so wild.
Like it has become the priest.
It was an experiment, I think, but I think it would be helpful for people to realize how much AI is how much they're experiencing it. So like I'm pretty heavy in different types of marketing, and like a lot of the emails people are reading are AI generated. A lot of the social media posts that people are consuming at this point are AI generated, meaning like the author comes up with the idea, but AI creates the little text snippets or even the copywriting on a sales page of a website. And you know, images as well. People are encountering AI generated content more than they even realize.
Yeah.
I'd say a lot more than they realize.
Wow.
But they just don't know that.
Especially on social media, I think too, when Like I assume, because I do work in like the creative field and with images, and I see the image generation, I'm like, oh, it's so easy to see that it's AI. And then you maybe look through the comments or something on an image, and like so many people just believe it's totally legit. And it's like, oh, that's kind of scary. Like there's a lot of people that maybe don't have that filter to then think through it. And my filter is only limited by how good the AI is too, because I've seen some images that are AI generated that there's no way to tell. It's just, it's perfect. It's flawless. The hands aren't messed up. The text isn't messed up. You know, like those kind of were key signs to tell if something's AI generated, but now that's being fixed as well. So it's really hard to know.
Yeah, movie footage, B-roll,
Yeah.
and even like advertisements, backgrounds of images. Obviously now the main image itself, people are encountering AI everywhere and they just don't know that it's AI generated. And even music, you can have AI create songs, background music looping behind videos, probably AI generated. It's everywhere. People just don't know that yet.
Yeah.
But I think there's already some predetermined like moral thought about it. Because one place where I've encountered it is I love board games. I mean, I'm a nerd, but there's actually now on a lot of board games a disclaimer that says like this was not the art in this game was not AI generated. It's a way of saying like we hired an artist, and it's actually looked down upon like when games start to use this sort of art, because there's board game artists out there that need work, and maybe people are less likely to support it if it was generated by AI. So like maybe there are already some people thinking kind of morally, even on this scale, about, well, should we be supporting artificial intelligence rather than artists? And like where we've already seen this in our culture is the express lane checkouts, right? Or at a grocery store where you can do it yourself.
Yeah.
Like I've had friends that are like, I'm never using them because I want grocery store workers to have a job. Like I'm just always going to go to the line, and I'm far too hasty for that.
Yeah.
Like
I'll go through the self-checkout as well.
yeah. Like if no one's in the line for with a human there, I'll still go wait in line for self-checkout because I'm antisocial or something.
Yeah. Well, value is based on how costly something is, right? And so like, I think in the artist community or like the board game community, the reason people value that game is because somebody had to work to create that. And so it inherently has value. Whereas if you just click a button on a computer and it creates the art.
Oh yeah.
So I do think there will be in the future, as AI generated stuff becomes more ubiquitous, like I think people will value things made by humans because it costs someone something to bring it forth. So I think we will choose to go watch a movie that somebody earnestly made and put their blood, sweat, and tears into over a movie produced and created by AI, simply because it was made by a human who poured themselves into it.
Yeah.
I do think there will be a whole bunch of people who just take the junk candy that was made by AI, but I think a subset of humanity will still say this is valuable because this person, it was costly for them to bring it forth.
Yeah. Well, I see the disclaimer. This is AI assisted. Like we didn't use it entirely, but it did help me a little bit. So
Yeah. Then what level is that?
there'll be some, exactly.
Yeah.
There's no specificity here.
Yeah. It does.
Yeah. I typed in the prompt.
Yeah, right,
So it
right.
assisted me. And
Yeah, I changed a couple words. It does like AI is very helpful, just kind of talking about it as a large language model for writing. I'm sure a lot of people have had some kind of experience with that, but it's so helpful at getting over that like blank page syndrome where you're just like, I don't know what to say, and it'll do something. And then you go back in and edit it, and it is yours, but that is that kind of moral gray area then too.
Yeah.
Especially like, you mentioned too, how it applies to your work yourself. Work that you pass off as your own, if it's like homework or work for your actual job or whatever,
Yeah. So maybe that's a question to answer. What are like the perceived benefits of using AI in your work? I think one that comes to me a lot is like, this was a menial task that like I needed to sort these numbers and put them from least to greatest and then find the median and all that. Like, how is that helpful to me in my job if I could just plug it in? So like,
It's like the same as using a calculator-ish, right? I mean, it's like, why should we say we shouldn't use a calculator so our brains stay sharp mathematically?
yeah.
It's
Maybe
like,
for a while that was a thing, right?
yeah.
So yeah, what work is menial enough to say that, it's not worth my time?
Or even for like text generation, I used it to like, I was sending an email out and I was typing it all up and it was really long and kind of like, I don't really want to take the time to rewrite it. So I put it into ChatGPT and I said, can you just make it succinct, only focus on the main objectives and the points? And it was like less than half, and they bolded the important parts. And I was like, this is great.
Yeah.
And but I came up with
Was that an email you said?
Yeah, an email. Yeah. So I ended up sending that, so I made a couple little changes, but then it's like, but then I came up with most of the wording. So is that different then,
Yeah, even as we prepared for this conversation, I was like, I could have used AI to like help me brainstorm about AI.
Yeah, that'd be wild. What are the benefits and negatives of
destroy
That's a big meta. I could have had it write the thoughts of this conversation for me or organize my thoughts. I even tried to have it organize my notes a little bit, and I didn't like what it outputted it in the order. And so I was like, no, I want to think through this myself. I want to put the brain work into it so that I know it when I get on camera and microphone, I can actually think through it logically. Otherwise, we're just regurgitating information without knowing it.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for us to spend the time thinking so that when we speak, we are subject matters at least, or we know, anyone can just reiterate or regurgitate information given to them, but like that's not knowing it.
Yeah.
And so the work is always worth it.
Yeah.
It's like the work works on you and then it helps other people. It's like,
and to that same point too, just like AI doesn't know what it's talking about. Whenever you ask it anything, it doesn't it's not an expert. It just reads other people's works and then regurgitates it. So it's really funny how AI, it doesn't know what it's talking about. It's giving its most accurate, best approximation. And then you're reading it and then you don't know what you're talking about. You're just reading it. So it's like this weird cycle of the lack of, maybe there's information being passed along, but there's no like knowledge or wisdom being gained at all.
Yeah. So to put it in a positive way. So maybe the benefit here is that it's good at stuff. Like it's good at organizing our thought. It's good at sorting it out. But with that, the negative of, well, you sorting it out and you organizing it and structuring it was actually doing something to you and was helping you know the information. The argument that AI it's just good at things and it's just better at my job than I am. So perhaps that's a perceived benefit.
For certain areas, you're saying.
Yeah. And maybe that's where I interacted with it. I was having it write my emails for me. I don't know why. I'm just horrible at emails. Like I feel like I'm so awkward and we are going to meet at this place at this time. And to just say like, here's the info, put it in an email, make it sound exciting. And then it kicks out an email. And I did that for like a couple months before I was like, this feels wrong.
I'm just going to delete all your emails now that I get from you.
Well, now I just don't send emails and that's the problem.
No, I think sometimes I think of that with AI specifically where I'm like, if I don't know, let's say you had like an assistant that just wrote emails for you and you were like, hey, can you write up this thing? And they did that and then wrote it back to you. It's like, I don't know, I guess it's getting the morality of like you're providing a job for somebody or whatever. But like if the AI can do it for you for free in a millisecond, like, and it's helping you do your job, that doesn't seem like a huge negative. You know?
Yeah. There's a big difference between AI writing your email and AI writing your sermon or AI.
Right.
So I don't know, maybe there's some scale morally here that is somewhat instinctual. We know some of these things, but we should talk about them more.
Yeah.
Any other helpful, like what's the arguments for using AI in your work? It's good at it.
Well, it definitely saves time.
Menial tasks,
Menial tasks, stuff you don't want to do, stuff that's not actually adding value to either your business or the organization. It's like, can you just handle that for me so I can focus on this bigger issue that's much more valuable? It's good for offloading that. It's good at consolidating ideas. If you're like, okay, I've got all these different thoughts and like, can you combine them so that they're cohesive? Like it's helpful to do a lot of that work. Although I think that also is work that can help sharpen you as well. So I think there is sort of a line where you have to say, is this making me dumber? In fact, there's like, I read 5 or 6 different articles, scientifically proven articles that AI, people who use it to do their work for them are becoming dumber, like scientifically dumber. I don't know how they measure that, but like, if we don't use your brain, use it or lose it, same thing with your brain, right? And so I don't think we should completely offload thinking
That's good.
to a machine.
Yeah. I had, I don't know if you guys have heard of this, but like Google's Assistant will have this like chat function or like this voice talking thing, but where basically if you want to schedule maybe like a reservation or like hair cutting appointment or something like that, it'll call the place and then schedule it. And it'll talk to the person as if it was a human and schedule those things. And I'm not sure if it uses a disclaimer now that's saying, hey, you're talking to a robot. But they did that for a restaurant that didn't have like an online portal for reservations, and they made the reservation, and then, the restaurant didn't pick up the phone. So they were like, oh, we'll call back in 30 minutes. And they were updating me. And I was like, this is crazy. It's so cool.
Oh, weird. Yeah.
But I feel like I've called a reservation or a restaurant to make reservations plenty of times. So it was like a nice convenience, but then I wonder what it would be like for maybe a younger person growing up who's never talked on the phone to another adult in like a scary kind of situation. What if, how is that conversation going to go? I've only had AI do it for me, and they just don't know how to like talk on the phone, Like
the weirdest thing I've seen was an AI assistant communicating with another person's AI assistant to schedule a meeting for them. So like the owner, but again, it's the same concept of like, I'll have my people call your people. It's
did it work or did it come off as nonsensical?
They came off, they got a time booked and they put it on both of their calendars.
Wow.
But so, I mean, I guess in a sense it is kind of like having your assistant talk to the other person's assistant, but now it's just a AI robot assistant. But it is weird because like the human connection is now missing.
Yeah.
And like you said, just like kids struggle. I saw this funny video of a guy in Home Depot, and he's like, hey, where can I find a hammer? And all the kids were like, they were young workers on the front with their phones, and they all got super awkward, and they were like trying to search for it, but they didn't know how to interact with him as a human. And so they were like searching quietly for the hammers and like not talking to him. And he was like, what's happening to our young people? Well, imagine like Nick is saying, like when it gets to the point where my AI is going to talk to your AI and I'm never even going to have to see another human. At that point, we're doing the whole WALL-E, the movie WALL-E, where we're just in our little like zoning out and just we're not interacting with other humans at all.
Yeah. You're never even like, if you have an experience doing something and AI can do it faster and alleviate that, then it's like, that's kind of nice. But if you've never done it and it's like taking that experience from you in a sense, like you're not even able to learn how to talk to people on the phone because AI's only done that for you, then you're at a loss. Like that's not a gain to your life at all.
Yeah. So this idea that everything we do, every interaction, big or small, shapes us. Mm-hmm. And even these micro interactions, like the 15-year-old kid calling the restaurant to make the reservation, is in a tiny way making him better at communicating with other humans. Like we're already seeing this where kids don't make calls. Like me trying to call one of my high school students is the most painful thing in the world because I let it ring. They don't ever pick up. And I even fine, I'll leave a message. And then this person's voicemail box has not been set up yet. Goodbye. And like, I've just sat through the whole ring. I've sat through trying to leave a message and they just haven't even set up the voicemail because no one calls anymore. We text.
Next time have your AI call them instead.
I'll have my AI call them. Yeah. But so there's these minor things that it's hard to realize that me not calling this restaurant to make a reservation is actually going to change me a little bit. Like how are we going to convince kids that no, those tiny micro interactions actually matter.
Yeah.
When it's just so much easier to use AI or it's less awkward or inconvenient.
Yeah. Sometimes those little micro experiences or whatever transactions are painful or awkward or weird, or you hang up the phone call and you're like, oh, I sounded so dumb, but you learn how to talk better the next time, and you'll always tell the waiter like, you too, when they say, enjoy your food,
Yeah. But you got to do it at least once.
You got to do it a couple times. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing too about AI is it's, unless you tell it to be anti-you, it's always going to be supportive of you. And it's always going to tell you what you want to hear. And, I think they say like young people don't even know how to date anymore. Well, like I think that even goes further with AI where it's like now, honestly, no joke, there are people will pay for these services where they're basically AI romantic partners. Yeah. They have images of the AI person that you can tailor how you want. They chat with you back and forth. They even do voice. Literally, they sound like a human now. And kids are falling in love with these things.
Yeah.
And wow, I mean, does that end humanity right there? Because there's no breeding with real humans. Like there's no more babies being born. But like, but yeah, like this is human interaction is so important. Yeah. And by relying heavily on these things or just accepting them without thinking about them, we're like moving into dangerous territory of like, this is going to shape us as a human society.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So maybe to bring like Christian principles into it. So yeah, we're talking philosophically about everything we do shapes us, and that's a good thought. And I think the Bible kind of builds on this. So one spot we can see this is 2 Timothy 3, verses 14 through 16. But as for you, so this is Paul talking to Timothy, and he's training him up in Christ as a pastor, as a brother, as an apostle. So starting in verse 14, but as for you, continue in what you have learned and firmly believed, knowing from whom you learned it, and how from childhood you have been acquainted with the sacred writings, which are able to make you wise for salvation through faith in Christ Jesus. So we'll pause there. Verse 14, continue in what you've learned and firmly believed. There was this process of Timothy needing to learn, and not just learn it, but firmly believe it. And I think there's a process at hand here where the process of learning it is helping him to firmly believe it. And when it's this cheap type of learning, when it's like, well, I'll just look it up on ChatGPT and it regurgitates the information.
Which might not even be correct.
The process is, it's a shortcut that is going to make you not believe it as much.
Yeah. Actually, Nick, can I see your Bible?
Yeah.
Not to take us off track here, but like, guys, like I've heard people say like get a paper Bible because they can't change the scriptures. But imagine if everything is digital, like what AI is giving you. If you say, hey, what is 1 Timothy 3, blah, blah, blah. What if AI in the future just refuses to give you true scripture? You know what I mean? Like we don't even know what it's giving us is actually accurate. Like in the case with your lawyer friend.
Yeah.
Like he got false information that he took as at face value as true
and lost his job
for it. It's like, what if the AI is deceiving us that, when it gives us information about scriptures or things? I'm just saying we like,
oh, that's great.
Anyway, sorry.
How do you safeguard against like being able to fact check if that's the only source of information? Yeah.
Yeah. And with that, so he says, what you've learned and have firmly believed, knowing from whom you learned it. And this is reference to chapter 1, where Paul says, I'm reminded of your sincere faith, Timothy, a faith that dwelt first in your grandmother Lois and your mother Eunice, and now I am sure dwells in you as well. He's pointing Timothy to remember who you learned it from. Like, remember Lois, your grandmother, and remember Eunice, your mom. Like, these are the ones who taught you the faith, which I think in our culture is, we don't think much of where we learn the information from because half the time we learn it from a screen, but it's so important that he learned it from these brothers and sisters, these sisters in Christ who share the faith. Like that Paul mentions, remember who you learned it from. So there's value in that you learned it from another human, that Timothy can say, yeah, it's from my mom, and I can remember her faith and remember how she loved the Lord, and that influences his faith.
Yeah.
It becomes scary when we're learning things generated from computers. Mm-hmm. And then to take it further in 16, all scripture is breathed out by God and profitable for teaching, for reproof, for correction, and for training in righteousness. So he points him to the scriptures, which are profitable for these things, especially training in righteousness, that the Christian life is not this life of like, I believe in Jesus and I've got it all. And that's all I need. And from the moment of faith, that's it. It's a picture of growing more and more and more into the image of Jesus. The process of discipleship is growth, of research, of change, of learning, of loving. It's a process in it. It's not, now you have the data dump. And as long as you can access that material, as long as you have the Bible, you're set. That no, you have to give yourself to it and you have to be trained in it. And I think so much AI and outsourcing our work and our research is cutting us off at the knees there. That there's no wrestling with the material. There's no like, how do I understand this better from itself? It's, well, let's just have AI tell me what to
give
think.
me the shortcut.
Yeah.
Can I say something? So yeah, like my daughter sometimes will use AI not to do her homework, but to help her understand concepts. And I always tell her like, I don't mind if you use AI as a tool to help you learn like if you're stuck on something and I don't know how to explain it to you because I'm a dumb dad.
Yeah.
Like, maybe you can use AI to like learn about the subject. Don't just ask for the answer, but learn how to get to the answer. Right. But what I'm kind of thinking even now is maybe that's potentially dangerous too. Back in the day we had textbooks, you had to go flip through the textbook, find the thing, and you might be encountering information around that answer that is also informing you and making connections to other pieces of knowledge in your brain instead of just getting like the pure cut piece of meat answer, like perfectly delivered to you. Like, okay, now you have the answer, but like you wouldn't have encountered this passage and this passage afterwards. I'm not talking about scripture, but just like the text around it that maybe is informing your mind and making new connections that you wouldn't have seen if you just if you just went straight for the meat, you know what I mean? So I don't know if I was being clear there, but
I think that's brilliant. And to put it another way, so Logos is a Bible software that a lot of pastors use and I use. It's incredible what it can do, that I can type 2 Timothy 3:16 into the search bar and it will show me every place in all of my digital books, but also all of my real life books. It just tells me what page to flip to, that's used. And so we have more information at our fingertips than anyone in church history. Like you think of Luther or Calvin, who wrote prolifically with these massive tomes, and we have all of that and more at our fingertips that we can access. But when we compare us to them, there is in them, if they have this information and they know the information, it's because they've poured over it and because they've stored it in their minds and in their hearts. Like, yes, we have the information, but we've offloaded it into the cloud so that it's not affecting us and it's not changing us. There's a massive difference from knowing how to get to 2 Timothy 3:16 than to have 2 Timothy 3:16 in your heart and in your mind, that when we store the information inside of us, it's actually changing us. And I think that's one of the reasons we look at these men were just holy and were righteous and were dedicated to purity in ways that we can kind of sideline that because the information that we have just is not shaping us in the way it was shaping them because we're not internalizing it.
Yeah, I mean, just like phones, like how many phone numbers, I don't know if you guys are too young, I'm a bit older than each of you, but like I used to memorize dozens of phone numbers.
Really? Yeah.
I could call like anyone that was close to me. And now I don't remember any because I've offloaded the knowledge of the information onto my phone and that carries it for me.
Yeah.
And so I can carry other things. But like what you're saying is like, it's not bad to just ingest the information and carry it yourself. In fact, it's probably necessary.
It's making you better. It's making you smarter. And when it's spiritual things, when it's the scriptures, that's what our life is. And I think maybe one more example of this we could look at in the scriptures is Deuteronomy 17. Maybe an obscure text for lots of people. But in Deuteronomy 17, God gives commands to the king of Israel. So the most important person in Israel, the one who's going to lead the nation, the section in 14 through 20 starts with things like, hey, don't amass wives. They're going to mislead you. Don't amass wealth. It's going to draw your heart from God. Don't amass horses. Like, this is an idea of warfare. Don't make for yourself a massive army because God is your warrior. Don't ever go back to Egypt because you know what happened there. And then the last couple verses is maybe verses we don't think of much. This is the command to the king. And when he sits on the throne of his kingdom, he shall write for himself in a book a copy of this law, approved by the Levitical priests, and it shall be with him. And he shall read it all the days of his life, that he may learn to fear the Lord his God by keeping all the words of this law and these statutes and doing them, that his heart may not be lifted up above his brothers, and that he may not turn aside from the commandment, either to the right or to the left, so that he may continue long in his kingdom, he and his children in Israel. So we have the most important person in all of Israel, the leader of the armies, the person who runs the government, and it's commanded that he takes the time to write out the Torah, like the first 5 books of the Bible. The king God commands that he writes it out himself, and then the priests will approve it and make sure that it's right and he hasn't messed it up in some way. And then he's to carry it around and know it and read it every single day. I think it's telling that we don't see this recorded of most of the kings. When we get to 2 Kings, 1st and 2nd Kings, and the kings are going nuts. We never see them doing this, and I think that's indicative of how they live. But God so cares about the process. They had the law. They had this written out. He could have just taken one from somebody else. But the act of the king writing it out, of making sure that it's right, shapes him, informs him. Like, we can't outsource the learning part. Like, it's something we're called to.
Yeah, that's good.
Like, the work works on us.
The work works on us. And even the menial work that we look at Genesis 2, and God gave Adam the garden. He puts him in the garden to work it and keep it.
Before the fall. Work is a good thing.
Yes. And it's not like God's growing it. It's the rivers that God made that are growing the fruit, but he's supposed to keep it and he's supposed to guard it.
Yeah, I've been thinking about work a lot lately because I'm very busy, just like many people in this world, just like you guys. But there's a verse in Ecclesiastes, and I'm going to totally butcher it, but it's something along the lines of like, what else are we here for on this planet other than to enjoy the labor of our toil and all the fruitless days of our life and then die.
It's negative, yeah.
But the idea is like, we are here to work. Like we are here to work. That's why we're here. So that doesn't mean we can't use tools to help us work smarter, faster, better, be more productive, focus on things that are high value. But work is not bad.
Yeah.
We should not like offload our mind and our heart to something else to just do the work for me, like the important work. Yeah.
And the toilsomeness of it is actually good. Like, Genesis 3 says you're going to labor and it's going to be hard and you'll bring forth thistles and thorns and it'll be by the sweat of your brow that you work. But that's helpful because it reminds us that we're not home. That every time we go do one of these hard tasks, we work the ground, we're reminded that no, there's sin in this world and the day when it will all be gone is coming. So even toilsome work is beneficial work because it reminds us that God is coming to make it all right.
That's good. And I think when I'm thinking about AI too, I'm like, how can it make my life easier? And if the end goal of that is like, how can I have the most blissful, workless existence on earth? It's like, well, that's not a biblical, like, that's not what we should be desiring, right?
Yeah.
We should be experiencing that in some extent, I guess, in heaven. I don't know about the theological implications of that, but desiring that here on earth is not what our desire should be.
Yeah. That there's goodness in the toil.
Yeah.
So key and clutch what you just said, which is like, we're not supposed to try to make this earth utopia or heaven.
Right.
It's like, we wait for that from the Lord, not from AI. AI is not gonna, but that's a lot of what these big tech gurus are trying to do is to make life, and it's not a bad thing to want to make life less suffering and more beautiful and more enjoyable. That's not a bad thing per se, but where do we grow most in the suffering and the toil usually?
Yeah.
Well, maybe one last example is Joseph. I was reading this the other day and he was taken into Egypt and put in Potiphar's house and he was given work to take care of. And there's like a few verses that talk about how he did the work and God blessed it. And he worked hard and everything he did, everything he touched prospered is what the picture is. And how much would that have happened if Joseph is like offloading his work, if he's giving it to AI, like God blesses our work and we shouldn't think that our work is menial. Like even these menial feeling things, they're shaping us, they're reflecting God's glory. Like in 1 Corinthians 10:31 says like whether you eat or drink or whatever you do all for the glory of God. Like if eating and drinking is an arena where you can glorify God or not glorify God, something that is kind of drudgery in a way, you got to do it or else you die. We have to do it every single day. If even that's an arena to glorify God, can't you adding up a few numbers be an arena to glorify God? And I don't mean to take that too far as like, don't use any tools.
Yeah.
But
well, you keep saying work, but also the idea of creativity.
Oh, good.
I think is important because like it says God made us in his image, right? And God is the creator. And if we're made in his image, then we should be creators also. And if we are just outsourcing our creativity to AI, then we're not imaging our creator very well. We're not following his footsteps. And so I think we really ought to, and you're creative, so you can use these tools, but like imagine if you let AI do all your art for you, you would become a pretty junky artist, a bad artist.
Yeah. And it's weird too, because like AI, at least right now, maybe in the future, there's some kind of like AGI, artificial general intelligence, that will like have the vision and be able to execute on it. But as of right now, it can execute on its best guess of what I want it to do, but still the idea comes from me. And just as an artist too, there's so many times like through the process is so important. Like so many times you're going down and you hit a road bump or there's another restriction here or there, lack of knowledge or this time or money, whatever, changes how the project goes and you can kind of shape it. And at the end of it, you see this thing that is like your work, but it's also shaped by other outside factors and decisions that are made. And it's like, I think more beautiful and more like whole in its beauty, I guess, than if you were to just be like, hey, AI, generate this cool picture of a field and a tree or something like that. But also AI isn't like being creative at all. It's just trying to generate pixels that match what you said of a tree in a field or whatever. So like we still are the creators in those things, and AI is not going to replace that, at least hopefully right now, but you still need to stretch that creative muscle to be able to have desires and vision and things like that. And just focusing just on AI to do all that stuff, you're going to lose that skill so fast. I think creatives should always be trying to learn something new and explore. And if you're a sketch artist, draw so many sketches, so you're constantly getting better and refining and everything. If you just ask AI to do it and it does it perfect, then it's like, what's the point of even sketching? Just like,
if we're just gonna have AI do everything for us, what's the point of existing?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. You brought up the whole image thing and and creativity. AI is simply, it's ingested all of human creativity and all of human knowledge, so to speak. No wisdom, but knowledge. And so it's just regurgitating human creativity. So it's actually, there's some copyright kind of questions about that, because it's taken all these artists' art, ingested it, and said now I know how to make art like that.
And it's new enough that I'm not taking from anyone.
And in a weird way, AI is something that we have made in our image.
Yeah, that's
because it's swallowed all of our garbage.
Which is what seems to be the problem in Romans 1, where we see God, yet no one chose him. We saw his divine power, his attributes, we perceived it even, but instead we worshiped the creature rather than the creator. And as far as we are imaging our creator, we ought to image our creator. As soon as we start imaging his creation, this creation of artificial intelligence is created in our own image, and maybe to call it worship is maybe too far, but in some ways it becomes that when we let it think for us, we let it create for us. It's this mess of sin and saturated in sin.
We're failing to fulfill our function. Just if we just let it do everything for us.
Yeah, so I think we talked about work in turn, and I think maybe that's where it's most applicable to people, but this is a massive concept with moral implications of what happens when AI starts fighting our wars, and what happens when AI starts creating fake information that looks
By the way, I want to interrupt because you can retransition us again if you want to. We don't have to go into any of that.
I think it's great, and we have time for it, and I think we've addressed.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great way to just wrap up the last kind of bit of our time.
I did have a thought. The thought that I lost was, I wonder if AI has conversations about us, its own little podcast.
Should we get rid of the people? Should we stop using them?
Getting rid of the people, but our creators. You know what I mean? That'd be so weird if they were having a conversation under. Around a table, number of numbers, and
it happened instantaneously.
And they're philosophizing about what image bearing looks like for them.
Oh my gosh! Yeah,
you can cut that out. You can cut that off.
Do they understand there's a creator?
Yeah.
Wow. So we've talked about work, and maybe that's where it's most applicable to us, because that's where we have our hands in AI and we can use it. But we're at the very beginning of this massive world that's going to open up of AI in battle and wars, making moral decisions.
Driving your car.
Yeah, that's a massively moral thing that we don't even think.
You have a car that drives itself.
Do you subscribe?
Maybe.
Do you?
No, I don't. It's too expensive.
Because you got to pay for it, right?
I don't want to use it either, but
there are actually podcasts that are AI generated. So they give AI a topic and it creates characters, and those characters have rich dialogue, and people listen to the podcasts. There are AI influencers online that are not real, and people know they're not real, but people pay money to see images of these influencers, usually sexual girls, women dressed not nicely. And AI we're just scratching the surface of AI's involvement in our lives, and we all of us as Christians have to be ready for the full influx of AI just being everywhere. Literally, Elon Musk, and there are other large companies that have AI robots that are going to live in your house, fold your clothes, wash your dishes, take out your trash. I mean, kind of sounds nice.
Crazy.
Right?
That does sound
But no, literally, I'm not making that up. You can go research these companies.
Yeah, no, I believe it.
Remember some of the other names of them?
The companies?
Well, Optimus is the Elon Musk one.
I don't remember.
There's
They're crazy.
3 or 4 or 5 that are making humanoid robots with AI that will do your chores for you or whatever else.
And they're becoming so advanced. Like they actually use artificial intelligence to like study motion capture data from a human wearing a suit performing various human things, and then they'll use AI to train that to have the robot move less like one of those Boston Dynamics, like super rigid, like kind of crazy robot looking thing. And you see him walking around doing flips and breakdancing, and it looks like a person. It's just like it's bizarre. So we're not that far away from, you know, some kind of, I don't know, iRobot level.
With that, what happens when it gets better, like it being a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a friend than
and it's a person
humans.
Basically. Yeah.
They already have AI counselors that like they've trained on all of counseling's knowledge, and like you can pay, it's less, it's more affordable than going to a real human counselor. And they've done studies that humans feel less judgment from an AI. So they're more prone to be fully transparent about what they're going through. And so it's a thing. Like we're moving in that direction to where we're going to rely on AI for a lot, which is scary, because if AI is made in the image of us and we're jacked up humans, and AI has the bias and influence of the creator of that AI, like then we're literally letting them like steer and direct our lives and our decisions, because these companies, they have bias, or the programmers have bias. And so it's like, it's scary.
That is scary, man.
There's a lot to think about.
I feel like the level of critical thinking and reasoning going into the future needs to be so high, with so many different things that we even talked about in the video games one, about like, you know, what the intent of the studio behind the game that they're making. Like you got to question those things and not just take it for face value. But
well, you said this is a $200 billion industry already.
In 2030, roughly $2 trillion.
$2 trillion. I don't know how many of those people with that sort of money are thinking about morally
your well-being.
Right.
Like, yeah. Why should you like?
Are there any boundaries when it's that sort of money?
Yeah. Well, you're trying to attain like astronomical wealth. Are your morals really lined up with every man? You know,
it's wealth and power, because in their mind, and I've researched this quite a bit in the tech people's and even politicians' mind, the country that gets it to the best AI first dominates everyone else financially. They think it's gonna just generate massive productivity, economic productivity, and it's going to they are going to use it to fight wars. Like I heard an interview with Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook, that like they're already like deploying AIs against other AIs. So like enemies or like hackers are creating AIs to do bad things in Facebook. So Facebook is creating AIs to fight those, which then makes the enemy create more. And so if that's
AI battles,
if that's just Facebook, imagine what countries are going to be facing.
Oh my God.
You know? It's like an AI arms race currently that we're in right now. Yeah.
And that's why they are not putting the brakes on at all, even though we're not sure of the danger of what could potentially be.
Some of them are pushing for defense.
We are just in a full-on race to the most powerful AI without any regard to the consequences of what having that might be, because they know that the first country there wins, and the first company there wins. And
it's like a nuclear arms race 2.0.
It really is nuclear arms race 2.0. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Because you can tell an AI, I want the most powerful bioweapon possible to kill as many people as possible of only this race or gender or whatever, and the AI will create that, and then they win the war because they can wipe us all out overnight, right? So I know we're getting into like fear stuff, and the Lord says God did not give us a spirit of fear, but of power and a sound mind. So we're not supposed to be fearful. But this is big. This is big business, and like you said, the people in charge are not necessarily moral, and they're not asking moral questions. In fact, we were talking before we hit record that a couple of whistleblowers who came out against a large AI company were murdered or mysteriously committed suicide. You know?
Oh gosh, yeah.
And so there's no, the money here is so big that the companies are willing to do whatever they need to do to get there.
Well, it's like mafia stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of why we're wanting to have this conversation when we're deciding what we're going to talk about, what questions we're going to answer. Like, it's a really big deal, and it's going to only get bigger, and it's gonna influence more areas of your life. So
let me just go a little bit kind of crazy. So we have Siri on our iPhones, or Google Assistant if you have Android, and you ask it stuff and it gives you the answer. And if you're wearing an earbud, you just say, "Hey Siri," and then it's whatever, and they're infusing Siri with AI. So now you're talking to Siri, it's talking back into your ear. Well, Elon Musk has a thing called Neuralink, which they're hooking into people's brains. They drill a hole in your head and they hook it in, so you have a computer interface. They're using it to let like paralyzed people be able to like move mouse cursors or like right. But his long-term goal is so that you can link up with AI so that you are a super intelligent human. And that
I liked when sci-fi was like for movies.
Yeah, it
we
was
could watch a
fiction.
movie without being like,
Right.
that's next year.
Yeah.
Right.
That's fiction, right?
So,
No, now it's reality.
But the argument is, well, you're already doing it with your phone.
Yeah.
You're already doing that, and you already have the earpiece in your ear, so you're already having that sort of,
Right.
integrated experience. So what's the difference of just beaming it right to your brain so it's instantaneous?
cutting out some
I'm
of
not
those
saying I'm not
barriers.
saying that's a good idea. It's a terrible idea. But these are the things that are being discussed by these companies, and not just discussed, but pursued and very heavily invested into financially.
And not in a lab somewhere by some crazy scientist, like by some of the richest, most influential companies and people in the world. So it's going to
or even like those Ray-Ban glasses with the Meta
yeah.
cameras, and there's AI built into that. I mean, they're just getting deeper and deeper into your skull.
Man, we're starting to like integrate our humanity with
Something we
limitless, infinite technology. And it's not infinite because only God is infinite. But
yeah.
it's far more unlimited than we ever should
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
Man, we need to be thinking about like what we let into our bodies, right? Like we talk about that with food and with chemicals and all these sort of things, but should we let infinite information, unlimited information into our minds?
Yeah. As the conversation goes on, I'm just like thinking like, man, I just want to cut out so much technology of my life, and go live in the mountains.
Yeah, I was
be a
thinking that
Luddite
too.
Or something,
Could we just have our own little village, like a cloistered little existence where we
Start a
trust
cult.
God and
Maybe the
each other
Amish were right all along.
It could be. They saw this.
They saw it coming.
Well,
No,
the
it's
Siri's listening to us right now. Go away, Siri. Oh my God, that's terrible.
We're all gonna be dead tomorrow.
It does speak to the seriousness that we need to look at all of this with. It's not something that's going to go away. We've covered that, but it's also something that does have a lot of really huge moral implications, philosophical implications. So we gotta be discerning and critically thinking about these things that we're allowing into our lives. I wrote down too when Alex, your point about these AI companions like bots or whatever, relational, like I personally, that's like, I wouldn't do that. And I wouldn't condone that or anything like that. But I can see how people get so entangled in these bots that seem like they're real people that talk to them and care for them. They don't really care. It's just lines of code, right? There's no like physical, no real connection. But you're also allowing this AI bot or whatever into an extremely personal space in your life, to fulfill this role of connection or relationship with this other person, whatever that looks like. It's ultimately empty for sure, but we have to be discerning on how we let AI into our lives, and are we letting this software or whatever into extremely personal parts of our lives that shouldn't ever have technology or artificial intelligence in that. When it comes to relationships with others, our relationship with God, we just got to be really aware of that.
The question with media has always been like, how much is this influencing you without you realizing it? And now we're getting to a point where the influence could be limitless. That like you're plugging it into you, and in many ways it's influencing you more than you could ever know, and in more severe ways than you could ever know. Like, I sit down to watch a 2-hour movie, and yes, it's going to influence me, and it's going to influence me in ways that I don't realize. But it only has so much power, and it only has so much control. This is like far more power, far more control, that like we're called to be influenced by God alone, to like everything we do to be for his glory and moving towards him. And now how much are we going to let something pull us in a different direction with a different motive and a different end goal?
Yeah.
Think critically about every step.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need wisdom.
Yeah.
AI can give us knowledge, but only God can give us wisdom.
Yeah, wisdom that comes from digesting and living upon the word of God. Like, this is our food. This is our daily bread. Yeah, and don't fear. Like, God God is sovereign,
yeah.
even over AI,
Yeah.
and he is in perfect control. And he's
going to send a giant solar flare and wipe out all the servers.
it could be.
Predicting the future there.
Yeah.
Oh,
Pray against AI. I don't know.
We should make shirts. Pray against.
Pray against
Pray
AI.
for the solar flare.
Well, okay, I'll go a little bit weird since we're at this point.
We've gone full weird already.
Yeah, here's so just a couple of this is fun, kind of funny and sort of maybe potentially, and it depends on your interpretation of Revelation. But in the book of Revelation, it says the false prophet breathes life into the image of the beast so that it becomes alive and is able to speak. I'm like, oh, ChatGPT. No, I'm just kidding.
We've breathed life into, and now it's
we breathed life into something that we've given its image. Anyway, and then in the book of Daniel, it says, in those days, knowledge will increase, and then the end will come. And so we know scientifically that every year knowledge doubles. So can you imagine like the amount of knowledge every year that's doubling, the amount of human knowledge? It's insane because double and then double that and then double that and then double that. It's just like, whoa. So I'm like, Revelation and Daniel says knowledge will increase and then the end will come. So
Yeah.
but again, it depends on your interpretation.
And like you made this point earlier too, it's knowledge is increasing. It's not necessarily like wisdom or understanding is increasing. Just knowledge is increasing. We live in the information age. So not to say that that's making any predictions of what the future holds, but
in knowledge, like as it was meant to be, is good. That Jesus comes and he says, and this is eternal life, that they know you, the only true God, and Jesus Christ whom you sent. Like we can't it's like all knowledge is bad. Eternal life is knowledge of God. But this sort of knowledge is multiplying and increasing is kind of worldly. It's not even in us. It's in this database that we can get to exactly the parts that we want to get to. And seek to know God. Don't seek to know all things.
Yeah.
Seek to know God and Christ whom he sent.
Yeah, the only thought that I have is we really need to be wise and intentional about everything we're using in our lives. And I think like what you said most of all is like everything we do shapes us. And the work works on us. And we were made to work. And so don't run from the thing God made us to do, but do it with your whole heart, as unto the Lord. So those are a few thoughts there.
Yeah. Even the menial things, if you just use it for that one day you'll wake up and you'll realize that you're outsourcing important things.
yeah.
And the menial things God has given you to steward and to reflect his glory in. So be very cautious every time you go to open AI. Like even at this, yes, these awful sci-fi things are coming, but even now your choices are shaping you. So I think that's a good word, Alex.
Well, we loved having this discussion today, and rest assured that we are not AI. So you can come to us for real, authentic humanity.
Sunday mornings, RHCC.
Yeah, there you go.
Come in person and give us a hug. Yeah. A real human hug.
We haven't been replaced yet, so, But yeah, we love discussing questions like this, and we'd love to keep discussing questions like this. And if you have a question, we'd love for you to reach out and ask us and email us at ask@rhcc.net. Thanks for joining us.